Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the session now concerned with brand essence as we're working our way through the model of from brand vision to brand evaluation in this part of the strategic brand management session. What I want to do in this session is to show you that as a result of having this vision, thinking about the culture, the objectives, more to the point now, thinking about that brand audit, how you can then summarize what you want the brand to be. What exactly you want the brand to be. Now, the way we do this, there are several models out there. But one model that is grounded in theory, grounded in a very practical theory, is a model that can put the brand together by thinking in terms of a ladder, a chain. And it's a model that says, first of all, because of understanding the corporate competence, understanding how we're better or worse than our competitors at enacting this competence, we're able, therefore, to develop a low number of attributes that are really good, that the customer says, well, this is terrific. Now, but customers don't want attributes. They want what the attributes do. They want benefits. So you see in the example that I'm going to present in a moment that we ladder. Once we've found these low number of attributes, we then pose the question, what rational benefits do these lead to? And we identify them. And don't forget, people don't think, people also feel. So we then, for each of these rational benefits, we then want to pose the question, and what emotional reward? How do you want people to feel about what's going on? And as a result of that, surely that feeling, those separate feelings are in turn leading to, they're leading to some form of value that the individual's got. And if you want to summarize it, you can start to think maybe in terms of personality. I'm not a great fan of that, so I shall be quite brief as I go through it. Now, this theory was developed by Gutmann. An awful lot of research to underpin it, widely used in terms of taking all that I've been talking about to then start to say, so what should the brand be? Now, there's nothing better than a practical theory. So let's take the theory and let's show the value of that theory. There's a theory that says when we're trying to understand what the brand should be, these are the core elements of the ladder that goes through. Now if you think about it, when somebody buys, they buy because there's a key, one big driver, one big motivator. But they might find that several brands there meet that motivator really well. So they then start to think about some secondary motivators. Now, realistically, what we're therefore talking about is buyer behavior. When people start to think, if they are thinking about brands, they'll be using a low number of criteria to make an assessment of what's going on out there. So what we do in the model is, if we're in a market where people may be using maybe three motivators to help understand brand, then we need to start to think in terms of, so what three core attributes are we going to have, to sort it through? So our start point is, having taken all that data now from the brand sphere, the corporation, the distributor, the buyer, the competitor, and the market environment, we look at it, and we then start to say, as I was saying earlier on, this means that. And one of the things I want to get from it is, this means that we must do something in terms of having these attributes that we're outstandingly good at. Now here's my hypothetical car. And this car had found a niche in the marketplace, and it was all to do with a car, and they were able to do it, that really developed incredible power. Roads are becoming too congested. This car, the argument was, it will get you out of trouble through a sensible use of power. But in a domain of similarity, This organisation took a view that really said, and what we're going to do is we're going to have craftspeople working on this car. So when the leather in the seats are done, we're going to have people that really understand leather. When the teak inside the car comes through, we'll let people then choose the types of wood, the teak. Yeah, this won't be mechanised. And they found also, and they had an ability, that people really were concerned about using the car in this particular niche to then express something about themselves. So it was all about, therefore, needing a certain type of design. Now, they got the competencies to be able to do this. When they looked at competition in some of these domains were not doing too bright at all. So they then started to think in terms of, so this maybe is what the brand could be like. So I've got my 3 attributes. Then you appeal to theory. You then take an attribute and you ladder the attribute. So we then start thinking about the first ladder. If this car has got power, what it therefore means is, on a long journey, the effort required from you in terms of driving is less than would be the case with a low power engine where you're getting frustrated, you're sitting behind, and for safety reasons you'd never start to overtake or take certain types of action. What does it mean? It therefore means, the points I'm just making there, it means that the emotional reward is going to come through, that this person will be wise, they'll be wisely confident. They're not somebody that's going to start to take a risk, but they'll be wise because they'll say, well, in this situation, I'm pretty certain this thing's going to be able to get me out of it. So they've got this sensation of confidence. So if you think about it, well, what does that mean if we continue to ladder? Well, what it means that this type of person is somebody that really believes in not being told what to do all the time. They don't like being restricted. So now I've got a value. Now I've got a value. And maybe it's the sort of person who is rather adventurous. Leave that one alone for the moment. Think about that craftsmanship bit. What that's leading to really is, because of the type of leather you're going to have on the seat, the colour, the way the pile goes, the brush, because of the type of interior that you're putting together through craftsmanship, what you're really doing is you're making that functional attribute become a benefit of, it's individualistic. You've decided this car really is now, about you. Emotional reward from it, well, it's all about esteem. So what value are we now hitting? We're now hitting a value of somebody that really says, and one of the things that I'm concerned about when I want to get a car is, it's status. I want it to reflect something about my status. I want it to reflect something about my status. And then you look at design, for which you could then say, yes, design is all about maybe the rational side of things, which is the aerodynamics, reducing resistance in the wind. Or, the customer doesn't say, well, I'm not too concerned about aerodynamics. What I'm concerned really about is people, then saying, gosh, it's a head turner. I want them to turn their head, when they see this thing going by. Why? Because I really want some sensation of excitement. It's in some way this really is quite pleasant. So therefore, what value are you starting to hit? Well, here you may well be starting to hit a value that's all to do with pride. You're now starting to hit a value that's all to do in some way with pride. So you now develop a brand promise. But you do not develop a brand promise that has got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15. That's got these 15 words in it. You don't do that. This is a tool that then says, now, debate amongst your team. Synthesize it. Complete the sentence. This brand therefore promises. And in this brand's case, it may well be a brand that comes out with a promise that says, we promise that we are always ready to leap you forward. Now look at that word leap. It's got a connotation in terms of space. It's also got a connotation in terms of status and career. We're ever ready to try and leap you forward. That's me, and that's my crude way of looking at it.
It's also got a connotation of adventure, hasn't it?
It's also got, yes, exactly. It's also got that connotation of adventure coming through from it. Thank you. Yeah. So it's things like that where people then start to work with each other, and then somebody comes in, they become the virus, and then starts to challenge it, and then you move it on. But it's a debating tool, but it's a highly focused debating tool. That then says, come on, let's now start to fill this sentence in. This brand promises that. And we're able to get there. Now, can you see the logic? Why did I spend this time going through this model with you? I spent the time because as a result of this thing called the vision and the objectives and the culture, I'm able then to start to set objectives. I'm able then to do this audit. But the audit has fed through into this model here. Because the audit gives me my 3 start points. It gives me my 3 start points. So there's the detail of brand essence. In many organisations' case, though, they're very happy with either having that or then just having a statement. This brand promises that, and here's a short, sharp sentence. No more than that. The shorter, the crisper, the better, because people then are able to start to understand what this can mean. They're able to start to think in terms of therefore what it means in terms of the sorts of things that I do. So looking at brand essence, and again, modelling, simplifying, all the time recognising that there's this slight risk that what we're doing is through the simplification we may be missing bits, but it is through the debate, and it is also through the launch that these sorts of things happen. So in conclusion, I've used the model, and I've now used the model to then start to say, following that process through, what therefore should the brand promise be? I use this brand pyramid, I use laddering in the brand pyramid, and I ultimately can come out with a brand promise, my brand essence. That concludes that session on brand essence.